This is Chronicle, a Star Trek audio fan production.
Personal log. I am piloting the Runabout Malta to what seems to be all that remains of the USS Cassandra. Another runabout. Sensors show it is traveling in a circular arc of 3 AUs, and evidently has been for almost 3 days. With me are Ensign Suzanne Draper, a systems specialist, and 2 medical staff, Dr. Nath and Nurse Tamir.
I am picking up one set of weak life signs. Very weak. My best guess is these indicate a person in medical stasis.
I have an ID. That is the Pitcairn Roundabout, NCC 90332.
Makes sense. She was one of the Cassandras.
Lieutenant, even at this distance, Pitcairn has picked up minimal lambda radiation from the system.
Are we in danger?
Nothing immediate, probably. Lambda radiation's pretty rare, so these quantities shouldn't be too much to handle. We will need decontamination, though.
Increasing power to shields. When we link up, we should activate personal shields.
Programming our personal pen quarters to prep for radiation poisoning.
I was about to say.
There's a lot of data in the Roundabout's files. Her sensors are still set at maximum input. Hopefully she can tell us more about what happened.
Let's see if we can link up first.
Right.
Disengaging cloak.
Is that wise?
If we're gonna keep the shields up, going in.
Congratulations, Lieutenant, on your promotion.
Illogical. You have no emotions, being only a computer program. It follows you are indifferent to my career.
Agreed. I have social protocols which give me priorities, one of which is social etiquette. Another is helping solve the mystery of your grandfather's murder. Becoming Chief of Security would most likely aid in that effort.
That doesn't really fall under her jurisdiction.
We all three realize that looks increasingly not to be the case.
Granted.
I want you to transfer all your commands and controls from myself to Vanel.
As you wish.
Providing, of course, there were any.
Which seems an obvious first question. Are you in fact bound to obey either one of us?
Definitely, but not absolutely. My primary protocols remain intact, and nothing you say can change them. However, I do not believe you would object. The real Lovak wanted me to help solve the mystery, but more, he wanted me to protect and defend the Federation itself.
The question also arises, are you part of Section 31?
I am not. However, my template, creator, that is a question I cannot answer for certain.
He could have been, in other words.
Yes, for that matter, Section 31 might yet exist, and my protocols might as well have been designed with their priorities in mind. I myself have no awareness of such.
Which means nothing.
And for the moment, not relevant. You have access to the basic scan data of the nearby system and the debris of USS Cassandra?
Now that I'm activated? Yes.
The system is dead. Has been for decades. Bathed in lambda radiation, most likely circa 2370. The same year omitted from so many Starfleet records. In fact, if the ship gets much closer, we may all begin to need radiation therapy.
So it seems unlikely anything or anyone from that system destroyed Cassandra.
Which leaves 3 possibilities. Whoever did it has already fled.
Unlikely. How could they have known that Cassandra would be there? Or when?
Leaving accident as the reason. Or sabotage.
We should be able to dock now.
Roger that, going in. Activating docking clamps.
At this range, I can access the Pitcairn's files, sending the data directly to the Witch of Endor for analysis in case we... Just to be sure, Nepal? Oh, there's something, a recording activating. I think due to the docking. I assume you want me to play it?
May we?
Just a second. Here we go.
I'm Lieutenant Senior Grade Throven. This message may be my last, and if you're hearing me, you should be a Starfleet vessel since I rigged Pitcairn to self-destruct if anyone else attempted to board the ship. My mothership, USS Cassandra, blew up less than 2 hours ago. I was almost a full parsec ahead of her when the explosion happened. The range of this runabout is insufficient to reach Federation space, and in any case, I myself am dying from lambda radiation. My theory is that as an Andorian, I may be especially susceptible. I have rigged the Pitcairn to orbit the site of Cassandra's last position. I know Captain Sharas managed to get out a distress call. Meanwhile, I'll use the emergency supplies to put myself into stasis. With a little bit of luck, I may yet survive. Should I die, I beg whoever finds my remains to take some part of me back to Andoria, so I may in some sense return home, and my name not be forgotten. Lieutenant Throven out.
First Officer's Log. The Malta has recovered data from the Pitcairn and is towing the vessel back for extensive decontamination. One survivor, an Andorian lieutenant currently in stasis, will be beamed directly to sickbay once they are in transporter range. Both our own Runabout and her crew will undergo decontamination. Meanwhile, data about USS Cassandra's final moments are under analysis.
Analysis of timestamp files complete.
Computer, run a diagnostic on analytical simulation software. Then repeat analysis on timestamp files.
Working.
I take it you have something to report, Mr. Jovan?
Yes, I'm having the computer double-check the findings now. If I may, Commander, how familiar are you with my paper on transluminal space?
I read it all the way through. Didn't even have to look up any words.
With respect, how much do you recall about the specific properties of transluminal space?
Given you didn't actually prove any such thing actually exists, I got a pretty good grasp of the theory and its implications.
Second analysis of timestamped files complete.
Second analysis.
I call your attention to the wavelength of tachyon particles in the first 73 nanoseconds of the explosion.
That should be impossible. Unless...
Exactly. The captain needs to see this at once. So does Lieutenant Vanel.
Agreed.
Mr. Jovan, Sarij, what do you have?
We are waiting for the new Chief of Security. She will need to see this as well.
She should be here soon.
Very well.
Perfect timing.
Welcome, Lieutenant. Captain.
If I may, this meeting is regarding the sensor readings made by the USS Pitcairn of USS Cassandra's final moments. What we are looking at right now is an exact simulation of the Cassandra's destructions as recorded by the Pitcairn. Slowed down, of course, since the actual event took barely 5 seconds. The relevant sensor readings are to the right. Here. Note how an initial warp signature begins to form in the port shuttle bay?
25 safety systems exist to prevent any ship from engaging warp drive within a shuttle bay.
True. But of course anyone with the most basic access code can power up a shuttle, even activate the warp engine. They just cannot actually go to warp or even try to lift off without further authorization.
But there are no authorizations for what happened next. Please observe.
What is that?
The up until now theoretical energy signature of an interface between our own reality and transluminal space. As you can see, it opens up within the Cassandra and proceeds to rip open the ship from within. In a moment, you will see it cut into the ship's computer core. 95.72 milliseconds later, it reached antimatter containment. The details of how this could happen are, well, another matter, but the conclusion appears beyond doubt. Someone aboard the Cassandra had access to a transluminal drive system and activated it, in the process ending every single life on board.
Your theory would appear to be proven. My congratulations.
I don't feel right saying thank you.
Nobody expects you to.
We are, however, fortunate to have you as our science officer. Presumably, no one else is better qualified to answer some important questions.
May we?
How likely is it anything in a starship's hangar could open a fissure into transluminal space by accident?
For all practical purposes, 0. It might happen, but the math says the universe itself doesn't have the lifespan. Nowhere near, in fact.
How large must a device be in order to open such a fissure?
Given our own level of technology, I would think it would have to be at least half the size of either Cassandra or the Witch of Endor.
But whoever did this, they managed to smuggle such a device onto the latest, most advanced Federation starship, and without detection.
Mr. Javan?
We are clearly looking at someone way more advanced than ourselves, Captain. Or at least with access to such technology. I'm baffled, Captain.
As am I. Not so much by the technology involved, but how did a saboteur end up on the crew of the Cassandra? And we know they must have been part of the crew because the computer recognized their access code, allowing them to power up the warp engine of a shuttle.
That only requires the lowest clearance.
Yet, it still requires clearance.
Unhappily, I cannot but concur.
I have already begun an in-depth analysis of how a would-be saboteur might have pierced Starfleet security so thoroughly. My conclusions are very general so far, but I find more disturbing the timing of events.
We're listening, Lieutenant.
Why smuggle a saboteur onto an exploration ship, one headed far beyond Federation space? What is the point? Even more intriguing, why did this person, assuming one individual, because that seems many times easier for whoever it is we face, choose to destroy the Cassandra at that moment? Why not sooner? Or later? Why not back in the Antari shipyards where the damage to the Federation would be palpable?
The answer to that one seems at least a little clear.
It does?
Explain to him, Sarij.
Our saboteurs don't seem to want to attack the Federation, at least not generally. Good news. Anyone who can generate an entry into transluminal space wouldn't have any trouble smashing through any defense I can think of. And if they can use it the way you theorize someone could, as a means of propulsion, then we cannot even coordinate the defense.
Remind me of this?
Jovan?
Well, in theory, Captain, a transluminal drive would be faster than the slipstream by an order of magnitude. We're taking weeks to cross the gulf between the Orion and Perseus arms. Using a transluminal drive might take 4 or 5 hours, if that.
So a simple military attack on the Federation cannot be their goal.
Logical. Proceed.
Yet whoever they are chose to destroy not only the Cassandra, but presumably themselves once the ship approached this specific Dead Star system, which suggests some powerful value is attached to this place and events that took place here.
I suppose so, yes.
According to your sensor readings, Mr. Jovan, the system before us died as a result of massive lambda radiation approximately 50 years ago, Is that correct?
Almost precisely that long ago.
In the year 2370, in other words. The same year the service record of my grandfather and over 1,000 other Starfleet personnel were redacted under the orders of an admiral posthumously linked to the former Section 31. One of those personnel was Captain Lee Duchesne of Tarsus 4, who committed suicide that very year. A ship's record was also redacted, that of USS Chronicle, assigned to this and several other adjoined unexplored sectors in 2370.
Get to your point, Lieutenant. Now!
Something happened here. Something to do with the death of an entire star system. Something I would suggest had to do with a Vulcanoid race with blue skin once native to this very system, and whose survivors have murdered at least one former officer who served aboard the Chronicle and killed an entire starship's crew rather than allow them any closer to this system. What we need to know is what happened. Until we find out, we have a potential enemy about whom we know nothing. Yet Captain Talar is one of those officers whose record was redacted. I can only conclude she knows far more than she is able or willing to disclose.
Lieutenant, I think you may be building a rather large mountain range out of what looks like the beginnings of an anthill.
I can spot about 10 holes in that little speech you just made, starting with any sources you might have for this so-called evidence.
Lieutenant.
Captain.
I am extraordinarily pleased with your tenure so far as Chief of Security. More, I believe your grandfather would have felt pride. Our feelings are not something to be discussed, as you know, but they do exist. As for what it is worth, I also feel pride as well as hope. Computer.
Working.
Authorization Talar Visionary Beta 51731-984. Effective this date, I relinquish command of USS Witch of Endor and resign my commission with Starfleet. Transfer all my protocols, clearances, and authorizations to Commander Sarij as acting captain. Acknowledge.
Catching Up was written and edited by David McDowell Blue. Scott Fack played Lieutenant Zachary Stiles. Michelle Dannon played Dr. Nath Bihal. Anne Hurd played Ensign Athena Azarian. Leslie Sawyer played Ensign Vonel. Vance Major Owen played Lovick II. Chris Jones played Commander Sarij. Skaha Cotter played Ensign Suzanne Draper. Hetty Lynn Huertes played Captain Toller. Paul Jacques played Lieutenant Commander Jovan. Shears Jones played Commander Sarij. Heidi Ape played Nurse Tamir. Steve Atwill played Lieutenant Throven. The music Normandy played during these credits is by Joshua Stewart. Star Trek and all related marks, logos and characters are solely owned by CBS Studios Inc. This fan production is not endorsed by, sponsored by, nor affiliated with CBS, Paramount Pictures, or any other Star Trek franchise, and is a non-commercial fan-made production intended for recreational use. No commercial exhibition or distribution is permitted. No alleged independent rights will be asserted against CBS or Paramount Pictures.